video chat of us analysing a video from earlier.
Yes, because we can't stop ourselves. We were talking about what we were talking about, what we were talking about.
Exactly. I thought we'd share it and record it and see where we go.
So there was the level 1 and now we're level 2.
Perfect.
So, Chirag, you've been working with Prince Harry, and he's become one of your beloved. You've threatened to take him from my home and take him with you when you go back to the UK.
It wasn't a threat.
It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. We have been working on his passport, so we'll see.
I'm sorry. Stop. I'm sorry. I thought my horse fell. I'm so sorry. He just went.
He's currently rolling around.
Oh, okay, we're still filming.
And there we go.
He's good. Okay, horse is good. He was just rolling.
Well, you had a really interesting training session this morning. Just kind of as not a joke, but you just said, "Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we could clip his nails?"
Yeah.
And I didn't know where you were going to start with it, but all of a sudden you started to get things together, and I just backed up and put it on camera. So I thought maybe we would talk about it today, because as we talked about it, a lot of the things that you were doing...
I'm just going to stop there for a second. So one of the things I hear there is this idea of, so decided to do a training session, and in that moment decided, let's do a nail trim behaviour. One approach could be, okay, what equipment do I need for the nail trim? I need this, I need this, I need this, I need to order this on Amazon, I need to go get this. And sometimes we almost don't train because we're so busy going, I need to get all of this stuff, and go, too overwhelming, stop. Whereas, and that's good to be prepared and to sit down and go, what kind of things do I need? But also, what can I do in this moment? I'm ready to train. The animal's ready to train. Why waste that moment when I can, go, let's just work on the first bit of just sitting in front of me, being together, or being together while there's a nail clipper present, or could you even present your foot or work on your body balance like you mentioned in a moment. So just to mention that aspect of it.
Yeah, because I do that all the time. I can't stop, or I'll go to get all those things and I'll get distracted. Like, I'll go to get the cat food and it's in the laundry room. The laundry room needs to be swept and the laundry done, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
So sometimes I love that. Let's just go.
Yeah. So
what we get is what we get.
If you're a type of trainer who does that, then maybe you'll try just another training session going, I'm just going to spend 2 minutes before a session writing a list. After 2 minutes, I'm going to train. And if you're a trainer who writes long lists, you could go, okay, next session, I'm just going to try doing it. And so try a reversal just and see how it goes.
Expand your horizons.
Exactly.
Yes.
Things that, and nobody be shocked, but we should also look when we're training humans, right? So we're looking at body language. We're looking where the learner is engaged, and how far to go and how far to not go, right? Where do we stop, and what are the clues that we have as teachers that say we should push our learners, we should be more gentle with our learners, and everything that comes in between. So if you want to tell us a little bit about what your plans were.
So I didn't really have a set plan when I started. My plan was to see what I had to work with in terms of behavior. So if I had Harry on the table, I'd be at a surface where I could see his feet easily. So that was part of my plan. Have a comfy surface where he wouldn't slip. So the mat on the table. And then after that, I just wanted to see what would he give me. And
I have to stop you there, because one thing that we didn't hear in this video when you looked where to go was when you first got here, Harry used to jump on the counter. The cooking counter. And so we went through like 2 weeks of having him go on the mat that you can see here.
Yeah.
Actually, it happened in a day.
Yeah.
So he didn't jump on the counter anymore. And so you went, okay, not that counter, but this one, you're allowed on this table.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was so funny that you went, not here, not here, you're allowed here.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes they're allowed on the furniture, just if there's a mat on there. So it doesn't, the dog or the cat doesn't never have to be, it's not that you're never allowed on this furniture, but it could be allowed on it under certain situations, and we teach them what that situation is.
So is that stimulus control? Is that you are allowed to do this when?
Exactly.
If
so
A, then B.
Exactly. If A, then B equals C type thing. So under this condition and this condition only does this behavior pay off in this situation.
I like that phrasing. You say that a lot, and I like it. Under this condition, this can happen, and we can do this. So under the condition of the coffee table having the training mat on it, now you're allowed up.
Yeah, and it's not even about I would change the words allowed a little bit, because it is allowed. Like in our human way of thinking, we call it allowed up. The way I would probably word it is, under the condition of having the mat being on the coffee table, jumping on the table pays off.
Right. So it's not even allowed, but good things will happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think our animals think, am I allowed to do that? Am I not allowed to do that? I think humans, we start to think about those. Like, we put that kind of thought process comes into mind. But is a real shaping happening through that reinforcement history of, for learners, is it safe or dangerous? And so is it dangerous to be there? Is it safe to be there?
Is it safe or is it dangerous?
Yeah.
So we need to be putting ourselves in our animal's head. Are they saying, is it safe or is it dangerous?
Yeah.
Love that.
And the other thing for me when I hear this, I start off going, I don't really have a plan, but I do have a plan. And when you listen to that, and again, so I did have a plan. It's just I go, my plan is maybe the fluency of my behaviors of doing a training session with different learners, or because part of my job is to work with lots of different animals, lots of different people. And so potentially I'm able to do that without too much thought process, but the actual behavior of stopping, thinking and describing it is something maybe I need more practice in, or verbalizing it.
You have a lot of thought process going on, but it is so fast that you don't, to your point, you don't have to talk about it, write it down, you have got it. And that's what we're all hoping for, is that we can have all of these things floating around and be able to go through them really fast.
And also I think it's like what we talked about before, about that's one part of knowing, is that actually I can get there and do it. There's another aspect of knowing, which is verbalization. So maybe I still personally, I feel I need to be better at verbalizing. So I need to put more practice and gain more reinforcement history. What we're doing now is breaking it down and going, I'm verbalizing this. So when you say, what was your training plan? Rather than going, I didn't really have a training plan. That's just that the function of verbal behavior is probably escape or avoidance, because I'm not rehearsed enough in going X, Y, blah, 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 blah. And so that just shows, in one area I'm more fluent in something, but in another area I need to gain more fluency, I need to practice more, gain more reinforcement history.
And I think what we should do is do this one more time and bring in Eva Bertelsen, who has also been with us and loves to explore that at the moment it's happening. And you're like, nope, I got it, I just... But so maybe she can come in and really help you. Is this what you meant? Is this what you meant? And force you out of your comfort zone just a little bit. No, it'll still be safe.
No, exactly. And it's almost going, and so for me sometimes, like having to work, if I want to discuss it, I like to build up those layers of, okay, this is the foundation, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here. Whereas if we go into a conversation, we start up here, we go down here, we go deep into that bit of the conversation, but we haven't built up to it. It's like, one sec, I want to make sure that we've gone through all these layers first.
It's a deep jump, right? It's a high jump, and it takes a lot of mental energy to slow your thought process down that far, to go It's like trying to teach a toddler to tie their shoes. You know how to do it so well. If any of you have ever taught a toddler how to tie their shoes, people just go, somebody else do it, or I'll just use Velcro. Not because we don't know how. We know how so well. So sometimes the better you are at something, the longer you've been doing it, the harder it is to break it down. By the very fact that you're so good at it, you no longer have to think through each piece, and you don't even remember what those pieces were. So you can pat yourself on the back a little bit that it's become so fluent that it's even hard to break down.
Yeah, and I think that's the key of the other aspect for me is, like, I like going back because I like having those discussions, and I find those discussions reinforcing, but under certain situations, and those situations being, I don't want to discuss things that then we have to backtrack because we're not discussing, like, say, if we're using a lot of labels and constructs, and even as trainers, if you're talking about I reinforce, so you're saying, okay, Theresa, what happened? And you say, well, I reinforced my dog for touching a target. For me, that's too much. First, so I gave my dog a piece of food. When his nose touched my hand as it came out is different than I reinforced my dog, because someone else sitting around the table, if they said to me, I reinforced my dog when he touched a target, that could have looked topography topography of that description would be very different. And part of me going, no, show me, let's just see you doing it once, have you got a video, is because when you say I reinforced my dog, how do we know it was reinforced? Well, we don't really reinforce the dog, we reinforce behavior. How do we know that behavior is reinforced? Do we have enough repetitions to actually even say that that was reinforcement, or was that just delivering food?
But we do have enough information to say, I gave a piece of food to my dog when he touched my hand.
Exactly.
We don't have enough information yet to say, I reinforced my dog. And that's where people can get confused, and they'll say things like reinforcement didn't work.
Yes.
Because they thought by giving the dog a piece of food when it touched their hand, they were reinforcing. When in fact, all they did was give a piece of food to the dog when he touched his hand.
Exactly. And
until we have more data.
Until we have more data. So if I'm having a chat with you and you say, and then you touch the target, but also that doesn't mean what you define as a target in your head. Is it really how the animal sees, what is the function of that object coming out? So sometimes I'll see someone hold a target stick out, and they said, I hold a target stick out, but when I watch the animal has maybe had the animals trying to back away or move away.
Oh, so if I took my target stick and went like this.
Yes, and they back away, yes.
Yeah.
And also say, you want me to come this distance towards you, and you hold your target stick out. It doesn't scare me or anything, but you hold your target stick out, and I'm going like this. And if you've done that a few times, what's going to happen is target stick is start becoming a cue for moving into a punishing potential environment. Now, if I move forward into this scary space, and a car door slammed or something happened and my foot slipped on the floor, the target potentially becomes a cue for punishers or for bad things are going to happen. So when someone says, but I trained the target with clicker and treats, I've never done anything bad with the target. You may not have done anything bad with the target, but when the targets come out, what I observe is it's become part of a cue that's now cues the animal. We're going to move into an area where there's not a lot of reinforcers, there's a lot of slippery surfaces, a lot of punishers. So now when you say I target but the animal doesn't listen, or the animal's being difficult or he turns away, that's our perception of what's going on. Whereas if we break down, I held a target stick out in this situation, then I can collect the facts, and we can then discuss from the facts upwards as opposed to our perceptions or our that makes sense.
Because my first thought would be to say, but you've told me that one bad timing doesn't ruin everything.
No.
But what you're saying is, if I'm constantly putting that target out on a slippery floor, or I'm constantly doing it at 8 a.m. when everybody's leaving the house and it's ruckus, then that might be an issue.
And one time for one animal might not ruin something, but one time for another animal could be the end of the world. So if you've got an animal who wakes up and they've got a terrible headache, or they've got terrible pain or something, or they've had a bad night's sleep, and they wake up and something happens and it's you're training or something, one missed time could be more detrimental for that learner in that situation and have a bigger impact than for that same learner on a different day, or for a different learner in the same situation. And because we're all different biologically and our learning histories are different, so
and biologically different on every day.
Exactly. Exactly. And so our chemical, like our biochemistry and everything's different, so there's so many nuances that often when we have conversations we start up here, but we've not clarified all these other steps. And one of the things I've personally found is, and Bob Bailey says this here, Ken Ramirez, and lots of other people say this, is often like when you simplify something, not to the point where you're skipping things, but if you go back a step, and it's simple but it's not easy, often when you're discussing something you go back and you start working here, and suddenly you go, hold on a second, I've got the answer that I was looking for, something makes sense. Because what we're doing is searching for the answer in the mess. Like, imagine there's a puddle and you've walked into it and all the dust has come up, now you're trying to find something, you don't see it. But when things are settled and you go further backstream and it's just flowing so calmly, you go, oh, there it is, and you see it so clearly. And so I think the same in training and the same in our discussions. Often we try and discuss and we stay up here, and then someone else comes in with their input, but their input has their perception and they've not defined. We're not talking about the same thing potentially, we're talking about the same thing but using different words. So when we come back here, we almost start to go, hold on a second, there's none of those things that are happening, we're not using different words for the same thing, we're using same thing, different words. Suddenly that helps go, actually we're not fighting with each other, we're having the same discussion here.
So in the human world, one of the things I talk about is talk like an 8-year-old. And not to say that you don't understand words or you can't comprehend what I'm saying, but up until about 8-year-old-ish, we have a lot of the same interests. We like going outside. We like food. We like, there's a lot of words that we use the same. And then as we go off on our own trajectories, we learn different terminologies. Whether in the science of behavior or if you're academic in a different way, we all learn different words. And so we're constantly trying to shove each other back towards each other vocabulary. But if we can go back and use the words that we kind of used when we were 8, they're more likely to be the same, right? Sometimes I'll say, can you say it to me like an 8-year-old? And again, it's not a slight. It's not say talk down to me. But let's just go back where we all had the same words. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Because like as you go on your years, like when I look back and I think, wouldn't it be so nice to be that innocent, like not innocent, but just when you're young, even little things like family stuff together. Now a birthday party becomes more than just a birthday gathering. Like if you talk as an adult, often a birthday party is like family politics, this, that, and the other. Or even buying a present, you buy someone a present, and there's so many thought process that go into it. It's not about the present or the giving or the just saying I love you or whatever. It's more about, but if I buy this, that's the person's going to think this, and that person's going to think this. They're going to judge me for this. They're going to worry about this. Whereas as a child, you don't think that. You think I'm buying it's more pure.
Look what I got you.
Exactly. Yeah. And we lose that. And I think almost that history of learning and what happens. And when you go back to 8-year-old child, and from what I understand from what you're saying, and it might be a different understanding, but what I'm saying is that pureness comes back almost of those words and the things that we're saying without all that other mixture of information coming in and meaning different things, and like almost on the same page.
Right, because we haven't all gone off to different schools.
Yes.
We haven't all gone off to, now everybody's different, don't get me wrong, but we're closer, right? We haven't gone off in our different areas and learned different ways and learned different words for the same thing we're talking about. So if you can find a way to use 8-year-old words, there's a great book and it says there's only 100 words and you have to describe everything from the same 100 words. So an airplane is a flying box. So they take all the most complicated things in the world and you only have 100 words and everybody has the same vocabulary. You have to use those, and it's so fun.
Discussion.
Perfect.